More than neon lights and flying cars. Cyberpunk is about freedom, rebellion, and a world where technology works against the people who built it. 2077 didn't invent the genre, but it reminded gamers how powerful those themes can be when mixed with player choice, implants, hacking, and moral gray zones. But what if you've already beaten it? There are other games out there, some AAA, some weird hidden gems, that offer the same thrill of shaping who you are inside a corrupt future. They might be rougher, smaller, stranger, but each one scratches a part of that cyberpunk itch in its own way. Here are the games similar to Cyberpunk 2077 you need to check out. If you end up liking the content, please subscribe for more, and I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think down below. Love to hear it. When people finish Cyberpunk 2077, this is the first game they should play. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, doesn't just share the cyberpunk setting. It embodies the soul of the genre. Systemic oppression, biotech discrimination, megacorporations running the world, and a protagonist who is half weapon, half outcast. Adam Jensen, a fully augmented agent, walks through Prague where police harass him, scanners profile him, and his own upgrades spark fear rather than awe. Cyberpunk is about people losing humanity to survive, much more than a neon aesthetic. This game gets that completely. Gameplay mirrors Cyberpunk's best parts, and in some ways exceeds them. Missions feature multiple solutions. Hack cameras and slip unnoticed, sneak through vents and skylights, charm or intimidate your way through, or just activate arm blades and turn a room into scrap metal. Every approach feels legitimate. Hacking, dialogue, stealth all matter. Even side quests carry powerful themes, exposing government conspiracies, criminal exploitation, and underground resistance movements. The world reacts to who you are, not just what you shoot. But here's the honest reality. This is not a giant open-world playground like Night City. Prague is dense, but not sprawling. There are no cars to steal, no driving through neon streets blasting synthwave, because the game cares more about letting you crawl deeper into the city's hidden layers than speeding across rooftops. And yes, the story famously cuts off abruptly, leaving loose threads because Square Enix planned a follow-up that never happened. That frustrates many players, and reviews reflect that disappointment. But if you love Cyberpunk's RPG-ness and its quests, then this is one of the most satisfying cyberpunk worlds ever created. It's the smart, immersive sim sibling to Cyberpunk's action blockbuster energy. Cyberpunk gave you adrenaline. This gives more agency.
The struggle, just like the rest.
Cyberpunk could be polished, but it's usually a digital meltdown where power, insanity, and broken technology collide. That's where Divine Cybermancy lives. Developed by a small indie team who apparently spawned directly from a glitch in the Matrix. This game is one of the strangest cyberpunk RPGs ever made, and absolutely worth playing if you crave experimental freedom. You play as a cybernetic super soldier in a dystopian future where secret augmented factions battle cosmic eldritch horrors. The lore is overwhelming, philosophical, and often incomprehensible. Cyberimplant stats read like alien spreadsheets. Hacking can cause enemies to betray their own teammates or accidentally force you to explode. You might summon robotic helpers 1 minute and dual-wield psychic lightning katanas the next. This game's approach to cyberpunk is pure chaos. It scratches the same itch Cyberpunk does, but amplified into a surreal fever dream. Now, to tell you the truth, this game is jaw-droppingly janky. Like legendary jank. Tutorials barely function. UI is a nightmare. The story refuses to explain itself, and missions can test your sanity. Bugs aren't just present, they are part of the identity. Critics didn't know what to do with it on release, so reviews are scattered everywhere. But underneath the madness lies something that feels more punk than almost any polished AAA title. It's a world where the player defines the rules, not the designers. It values experimentation over clarity, freedom over guidance. And its bizarre humor and unpredictability make every mission a new glitch-ridden adventure. Is weird, broken, and brilliant. A more experimental counterpart to 2077. Cyberpunk doesn't always need bullets. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is information. Game Deck trades gunfights for investigations, starring a detective who dives into virtual worlds to solve crimes no one else can touch. Corporations manipulate pleasure networks. Players get trapped inside MMO fantasies, and digital addictions ruin real lives. This is the psychological angle of Cyberpunk that 2077 only hints at. You build your character entirely through choices and deduction. Solve cases however you want. Manipulate suspects, hack evidence, lie, expose, blackmail, or protect depending on your moral code. The dialogue trees are massive, and failing a check doesn't block progress. It just pushes the story down a different path. That flexibility feels very Cyberpunk. The sense that you shape who your character becomes in a morally corrupt society. But here's the drawback. There's no combat. None. If you love Cyberpunk for double jump sword builds or Mantis Blade rampages, this may fall short. Some players bounced off because they expected a shooter with occasional dialogue, when it's the exact opposite. The presentation can also feel limited by budget. Smaller areas, stiff character models, and a UI that gets cluttered fast. Certain quests lean heavy on exposition, and some investigations wrap up with less payoff than expected. Where it shines is world building. Hopping between radically different virtual environments, from corporate hellscapes to absurd role-playing fantasy worlds, gives a fresh spin to cyberpunk themes. Every case tackles a different angle of digital identity, addiction, surveillance, or exploitation. If Cyberpunk 2077's braindance investigations and corpo intrigue fascinated you more than shootouts, then Game Deck is one of the most underrated narrative cyberpunk experiences out there. Some cyberpunk games focus on high-end tech and flashy megacities. Anno, Mutationum does that, but it also remembers the genre's heart. Isolation, identity, and trying to stay human in a world drowning in chrome. This game mixes 2D action platforming with 3D city exploration in a way that instantly grabs you visually. Neon-lit alleys, cyberbars, ramen shops with flickering signs, it's dripping with style. You play as a cyber-enhanced fighter with a mysterious illness, searching for answers in a sprawling techno world full of conspiracies and shady biocore. What connects it to Cyberpunk 2077 is its dual-life, personal story about a body turning against itself, corporate greed, controlling lives and low life, high-tech societies where even hope seems hacked. Combat is fast, stylish, and satisfying. Combos, gunplay, augments, and boss fights that feel like anime meets Blade Runner. The city hubs are fun to explore, with quirky NPCs, weird side quests, and shops stacked everywhere. But the format comes with caveats. The world is not fully open. It's segmented areas connected by travel spots. Side content is lighter and more linear. The narrative sometimes jumps between tones abruptly. The story wraps up a bit quickly, leaving some threads dangling. The RPG elements are present, but not deep. More upgrade paths than role-playing choices. Reviews often praise the style and atmosphere, while noting the story pacing and structure feel rushed. Still, it does something cyberpunk fans should appreciate. A personal sci-fi journey inside a beautifully weird city worth exploring, even if it's not as large as Night City. If you love cyberpunk aesthetics and tight action with a strong emotional core, this one deserves a spot on your radar. Some games try to copy the cyberpunk atmosphere. Peripetia lives in it, inspired by Deus Ex, but set in a brutal post-Soviet dystopia. This first-person immersive sim drops you into a decaying vertical megacity stacked with rusted steel, propaganda screens, and corporate ruins. You play as a cybernetic soldier, navigating shifting alliances and espionage in a future where ideology is as much a weapon as guns and augments. Right away, it nails the cyberpunk themes with its corrupt power structures, surveillance, and political decay, technology as a form of control. What makes it feel closest to Cyberpunk 2077 is the player freedom. Sneak, hack, shoot, or climb. Every mission is an open problem with multiple backward, sideways, and vertical solutions. Levels are labyrinthine and encourage experimentation. You can toss boxes to reach new vents, shut down cameras, disable turrets, or drop on enemies from above. Even the gunplay is crunchy, weighty, and tactical. But let's talk limitations. It's still in development, and that's obvious. Animations need polish. AI occasionally has a meltdown, and some systems feel experimental rather than fully realized. There's no massive open world like Night City. Instead, think dense, multi-layered levels that focus on depth instead of scale. Story and voice acting are still being built up, and technical performance varies depending on the build. Still, the promise here is huge. It's one of the rare games exploring cyberpunk from a different cultural lens. Not neon Japan or corporate America, but Eastern European future noir. It's gritty, grounded, and mechanically ambitious. If you love Cyberpunk 2077 for the player agency, hacking, and role-playing, Peripetia might become your next obsession once it fully lands. If Cyberpunk 2077 took place on Mars instead of in Night City, you'd get the Technomancer. From the creators of Greedfall, this double sci-fi RPG throws you into a corporate-run colony where war, exploitation, and brutal policing are a daily reality. Classic cyberpunk themes, but dressed in red dust and rusty armor. You play as a Technomancer, a soldier with electrical powers, basically a sanctioned augmented weapon for the ruling authority. What makes it comparable to Cyberpunk isn't the scale, but the structure. Things like branching quests with consequences, multiple factions to betray or support, romance options and companion loyalty, moral choices that define your reputation. Combat mixes melee, ranged weapons, and Technomancer shock abilities. Different builds are viable, but here's the big caveat. It tries so hard to be more than its budget can handle. Animations feel stiff, enemy AI is inconsistent, environments reuse assets constantly, and some side quests feel like filler. The writing has heart, but also awkward moments, especially when the game swings for emotional intensity. Critics were mixed, mostly because expectations clashed with reality. However, for players who value role-playing freedom over polish, there's something special here. It's not sleek and futuristic like 2077, but thematically it's very close. The Technomancer is flawed, janky, and ambitious, but under that rough exterior is a story with genuine effort and branching RPG depth. The kind of game that makes you say, this could have been huge, but I'm still glad it exists.
My town, my streets. Uninvited competition.
This is the tabletop soul of Cyberpunk. Gritty streets, megacorp, and magic fused into a future where tech and mysticism coexist uncomfortably. Shadowrun. Hong Kong may look different from Cyberpunk 2077 at first glance, since it's isometric, turn-based, and slower-paced. But peel back the perspective, and you'll find some of the strongest cyberpunk storytelling in any game. This world is dirty, packed with corruption, haunted by digital ghosts, and ruled by capital. You're not a superhero. You're a runner, scraping by doing dangerous jobs in a city that wants you erased. What connects it deeply to Cyberpunk isn't first-person immersion. It's role-playing freedom. Every decision shifts alliances, unlocks new story branches, or burns bridges permanently. Your team isn't just a group of side characters. They have personal missions, trauma, dreams, and moral boundaries you discover and shape over time. Conversations matter. Choices hit hard. And like 2077's best quests, the emotional payoffs often arrive from unexpected angles. The turn-based combat brings tactical decision-making. Hack into networks mid-fight, buff cyberware-installed units, throw spells, or sneak your way through instead of pulling the trigger. Hacking dives into neon-soaked cyberspace where you outmaneuver hostile security AIs, giving the feeling of being a true netrunner rather than someone who just quick hacks from a safe distance. Now, the honest drawbacks. Small environments, no fully explorable metropolis like Night City. The lower budget production means limited animations, mostly static dialogue scenes. Pacing can feel slowed down if you're not in a heavy narrative reading, and combat encounters can repeat design patterns. But none of that stops it from being one of the most atmospheric cyberpunk worlds ever written. It's thoughtful and feels human. It offers the same core message cyberpunk fans love. When corporations own everything, identity becomes your only rebellion. If you're here for RPG depth, meaningful upgrades, and choices that actually change lives, Shadowrun Hong Kong is the hidden gem you should know about.